It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's a Wednesday morning and we welcome you back to the Feel Good Breakfast Expresso on SABC3. Now, the 1st to the 6th of August marks Rheumatic Fever Week. Now, for those who might not be aware, rheumatic fever can lead to rheumatic heart disease, which is the most common type of acquired heart disease in children and people under the age of 25, claiming the lives of about 275,000 people annually. Now, we're joined this morning by Professor Liesl Zulke, pediatric cardiologist at the Red Cross War Memorial Children's Hospital and president of the South African Heart Association. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
We always do appreciate your insights. So let's talk a little bit about rheumatic fever. And I know that the Heart and Stroke Foundation this year is sending a message saying a sore throat can break a little heart. Explain that slogan or that theme to us.
Yes, absolutely. So we all know that sore throats are ubiquitous in children. It's a common childhood condition. But 20% of them can be caused by something called group A strep, or then it's called a strep throat, which is a germ. And if you don't actually treat that germ, what the body does is tries to fight that germ. And that actually causes an autoimmune reaction where the body then actually ends up fighting its own tissues. And that is called acute rheumatic fever. That can be quite significant. And if you have multiple episodes of acute rheumatic fever, that causes permanent heart valve damage or rheumatic heart disease. And that actually affects 33 million people in the world. The majority of them are actually, as you said, children, young adults, adolescents. Most of them are living in low and middle income countries and causing a significant amount of mortality. So in fact, the sore throat ends up causing heart disease and causing death.
Yeah, through developing into this autoimmune disease. But can you further maybe explain what rheumatic fever does to the body?
Yes, indeed. So what happens with rheumatic fevers, there are sort of 5 major manifestations. 2 of them are quite mild. So this is a skin rash and some nodules under the skin, often missed, which is part of the problem. The next 2 are a little bit more serious, again, not permanent, but certainly serious, and that is affecting the brain, where you have an abnormal movement. It's called chorea, and is often picked up at school because children's handwriting change, their emotional sensibilities change, they look and act differently. And then the other one is arthritis, where they get severe involvement of the joints. Interestingly, it's the large joints, so it's the knees, the hips, the shoulders, and you can imagine it would then present with a child who no longer can work at school or can no longer do exercise. But it's the most important sequelae is carditis, or that is infection directly of the heart. This usually presents with tiredness, shortness of breath, again, problems with exercise. But what it is actually happening inside the heart is that the valves are being very badly affected. It's causing a thing called a valvulitis. The valves become leaky, leads to cardiac failure, and in many cases needs to have urgent surgery.
Yeah, so clearly the signs that parents and teachers should be looking out for if a child is complaining about a sore throat, and those symptoms then come to bear. Let's talk about the story of Sharik, who's a patient that you have at the hospital right now. But I think through you sharing her story, you could maybe just highlight the importance of why RHD is so severe.
Absolutely. So there's a picture of Sharik Lynn. She's a lovely little girl.
Beautiful smile.
Presented to us in April at age 7 and already then had a severely leaking valve. We tried various medical management, but she actually was in intractable heart failure. And just before her 8th birthday, had to undergo open heart surgery. She had her valve repaired, thankfully, and she did very well with the surgery. She's recovering well. I'm hoping she's watching me from the hospital bed at the moment, and we'll probably go home this week. But here's an 8-year-old girl that had to undergo valve surgery, and that just gives you an impression of how significant this illness actually is. We think of heart surgery in adults. These are young children that have to undergo this event.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being with us, Professor Zulke. We do always appreciate your insights, as I said, and I think shining light of information, very important information has been shone for us here. And I think the message to take home here is that remember that a sore throat isn't just a sore throat, it does matter. And as that message from the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa says, that a sore throat can break a little heart. If you're looking to learn more about this disease, then head on over to heartfoundation.co.za. Thank you.